Admiral Jack Frost stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet's flagship, staring at the holographic display in front of him. The unexpected transmission had arrived just minutes ago, and its contents sent a chill down his spine. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The alien figure appeared once more on screen. Tall and slender with iridescent blue skin and 4 calculating eyes, the Xorian ambassador's message was clear and threatening. "People of Earth, hear the words of Emperor Tsar Kol, supreme ruler of the Xorian Empire, master of 300 star system." Luna Base hummed with activity as Earth's top military leaders gathered in the underground command center. Holographic displays showed the approaching Xorian fleet, a massive collection of warships moving in perfect geometric formations toward the outer solar system. Admiral Jack Frost stood at the center of the war room, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of tactical screens. Around him sat the commanders of Earth's unified defense forces, representing every continent and military tradition humanity had to offer. "The Xorians have conquered over 300 worlds," Jack explained, pointing to the enemy fleet movements. "But there's something unusual about their military history." Captain Lisa Martinez stepped forward. "Intelligence has confirmed our suspicions. The Xorians have never faced prolonged resistance. Every civilization they've encountered has either surrendered immediately or been quickly overwhelmed. They've never had to adapt their tactics," added Intelligence Officer Ethan Powell. He pulled up footage of previous Xorian conquests, gathered from trading partners at the edge of their empire. "Look at their attack patterns, identical in every campaign for the past 5 centuries. They rely on overwhelming force, not strategy." General Alan Brooks, commander of Earth's ground forces, leaned forward. "So they've never faced an enemy that wouldn't play by their rules." "Exactly," Jack said. "And that's our advantage. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've mastered everything from guerrilla warfare to psychological operations." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity might be outgunned, but they were far from helpless. Dr. Olivia Grant presented her findings from the Science Division. "We've been analyzing Xorian technology. Their ships use a crystalline matrix for their communications and navigation. Theoretically, we could disrupt it with targeted electromagnetic pulses." "What about their weapons?" asked Admiral Kelly from the Asian Alliance. Daniel Wright, the lead weapons engineer, displayed models of Xorian armaments. "Their ships use energy weapons that require significant power cycling. There's a 3-second vulnerability window between full power shots." Jack nodded. 3 seconds is an eternity in combat. We can work with that." For the next 12 hours, Earth's leaders developed what they called the asymmetric response strategy. Instead of meeting the Xorians in traditional space combat, they would fight an unconventional war. "They expect us to either surrender or engage in formal battle," Jack explained. "We'll do neither." Colonel Benjamin Hayes outlined the first phase of the plan. Operation Trojan Horse. "We'll send what appears to be a damaged science vessel toward their forward elements. It will be carrying a special forces team equipped with our new stealth technology. Meanwhile," Lisa continued, "our main fleet will be divided into small, fast-moving units. Hit-and-run tactics only. No formation flying, no predictable patterns." Ethan pulled up images of the human ships being rapidly modified in Earth's orbital shipyards. "We're removing all external markings and identification. Each vessel will have a unique heat and radiation signature. They won't be able to tell which ships they've already encountered." Jack watched as the plans came together, feeling a grim sense of determination. The Xorians think they're facing a primitive species that will follow conventional rules of engagement. They don't understand what humans are capable of when fighting for survival. As the meeting concluded, they received word that the Xorian fleet had passed Neptune's orbit and was accelerating toward the inner system. "They're heading straight for our Jupiter defense stations," Lisa reported. "Exactly as predicted." Jack looked at the assembled leaders of Earth's defense. "This is it. The fate of our species depends on what happens in the next few days. He straightened his uniform. Implement Operation Trojan Horse, and may whatever gods exist have mercy on the Xorians, because humanity won't. As the commanders dispersed to their stations, Jack stared at the approaching enemy fleet. The first true interstellar war in human history was about to begin, and despite the overwhelming odds, he couldn't help but feel that the Xorians had made a terrible mistake. The Xorian armada emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter's orbit, their ships arranged in the perfect hexagonal formation that had intimidated countless civilizations into surrender. Their scanners immediately detected the human defense stations, primitive constructions by Xorian standards, orbiting the massive gas giant. Admiral Kurjan of the Xorian fleet smiled with all four of his mouth appendages. Begin the standard conquest approach. Destroy their outer defenses as a demonstration of our power. The Xorian warships moved forward at precisely calculated speeds, maintaining their perfect formation as they prepared to fire on the human stations. Commander Kevin Morgan watched from the bridge of the Jupiter Defense Platform Alpha as the enemy approached. His orders from Admiral Frost were clear. Make it look good. All personnel to evacuation pods, Kevin ordered calmly. Activate the automated defense systems and prepare to abandon station. As the Xorian fleet came within range, they fired a devastating barrage of plasma weaponry. Jupiter Station Alpha erupted in explosions, debris spinning outward in Jupiter's gravity well. First objective complete, reported the Xorian weapons officer. Human station destroyed with minimal effort. Admiral Kurzan nodded with satisfaction. Proceed to the next target. Maintain Conquest Formation Delta. What the Xorians didn't realize was that Jupiter Station Alpha had been evacuated days ago. The explosions they saw were carefully placed demolition charges designed to look like catastrophic damage, while leaving the station's automated defense systems intact. As the Xorian fleet moved toward their second target, those systems came online. Disguised missile platforms erupted from hidden compartments in the debris field, firing directly at the Xorian ship's shield generators, the vulnerability Daniel Wright had identified. Simultaneously, Commander Kevin Morgan led what appeared to be a desperate, disorganized counterattack from the remaining stations. Small, fast human fighters darted between the massive Xorian vessels, apparently flying in panic. The humans are attempting to flee, noted a Xorian tactical officer with disdain. Their formation is chaotic. But chaos was exactly the strategy. Each human vessel followed random, unpredictable patterns, making targeting nearly impossible for Xorian gunners accustomed to geometric battle formations. The humans weren't fleeing. They were executing a carefully choreographed dance of destruction, each apparent random movement designed to exploit Xorian blind spots. Meanwhile, the true human offensive was happening elsewhere. The damaged science vessel, Operation Trojan Horse, drifted helplessly toward the Xorian command ship. Admiral Kurjan ordered it captured for analysis, exactly as Earth's military leaders had predicted. Once inside the Xorian docking bay, Lieutenant Amanda Clark and her team of Special Forces operators emerged from hidden compartments. Their adaptive camouflage suits bent light around them, rendering them nearly invisible to Xorian sensors calibrated to detect conventional threats. Move out, Amanda whispered into her comm unit. Target the ship's command systems and communication arrays. As her team infiltrated deeper into the massive ship, the battle outside intensified. The Xorian fleet began to suffer significant losses for the first time in centuries of conquest. Their rigid formations, once their strength, became their greatest weakness. When one section of their fleet was disrupted, the entire attack pattern faltered. Admiral Kurjan stared in disbelief at his tactical display. 30% of his invasion force was already destroyed or disabled. Impossible, he hissed. They are primitives. How are they? His words were cut short as the lights on his command bridge flickered. Lieutenant Amanda Clark's team had reached the ship's power distribution center and planted their electromagnetic pulse devices. This is not how conquest is conducted. Kurjan shouted as backup systems struggled to come online. The humans are not following proper battle protocols. Back on Luna Base, Admiral Jack Frost received the battle reports with grim satisfaction. "Send a message to the Xorian command ship," he ordered. "Tell them this is just the beginning." The first major battle between humanity and the Xorian Empire ended with something the Xorians had never experienced: defeat. As Emperor Zarkol received news of the disaster, his rage echoed through the Imperial Palace light years away. These humans would pay for their insolence. They would be made an example of. What he didn't yet understand was that humans have been making war on each other for their entire history. They were just getting started. Emperor Zarkol paced the gleaming floor of his war room on the Xorian Imperial Palace, his forearms clenched in rage. The holographic battle reports floating around him displayed impossible statistics. 3 days into what should have been a routine conquest, and the Xorian fleet had lost over 40% of its initial invasion force. "Explain this," he demanded of his military advisors, who cowered before him. "How can primitive humans inflict such damage on the greatest armada in galactic history?" Grand General Vex Moore bowed low. "Your Excellency, the humans are not fighting correctly. They refuse to engage in proper battle formations. They strike in unpredictable patterns. They vanish before we can lock weapons." Across the solar system, that unpredictability was by design. Admiral Jack Frost had implemented what Earth's military historians called asymmetric warfare on a solar system scale. No fixed bases, Jack ordered from the constantly moving Earth Command Center. A fleet of unmarked ships that changed position every 6 hours. No predictable supply lines. No established defense perimeters. Major Gregory Patel led the latest guerrilla strike against a Xorian outpost near Saturn. His squadron of stealth fighters appeared seemingly from nowhere, struck with precision at the outpost's communication array, and disappeared into the rings of Saturn before Xorian reinforcements could respond. "Target disabled," Gregory reported as his fighters scattered in 12 different directions. Another tactic that confused the Xorians, who expected enemy forces to retreat together. Meanwhile, Dr. Samantha Wilson and her team of quantum physicists had made a breakthrough. In a hidden laboratory beneath the Atacama Desert, they worked on devices that disrupted the crystalline matrices the Xorians used for fleet coordination. "The jammers are ready," Samantha announced, her eyes tired from days without sleep. "Once deployed, they'll create quantum interference that will make it impossible for Xorian ships to communicate with each other for approximately 30 minutes. Jack ordered the jammers deployed throughout the asteroid belt. When activated, the effect was immediate and devastating. Xorian warships, suddenly unable to receive orders or coordinate with each other, either held position in confusion or fired on anything that moved, sometimes including other Xorian vessels. The Cyber Warfare Division, led by Nicole Johnson, had also made significant progress. By analyzing captured Xorian technology, her team had discovered vulnerabilities in the enemy's targeting systems. Their entire network uses a standardized authentication protocol. Nicole explained to Admiral Frost. "We can insert false targeting data, making their weapons systems identify friendly ships as human vessels." The result was chaos within the Xorian fleet. Ships fired on allies, communication broke down, and the perfect formations that had been the hallmark of Xorian military dominance for millennia fell apart. On the Xorian command ship, Admiral Kurjan faced the unthinkable, the first military defeat of his 300-year career. "The humans are everywhere and nowhere," he reported to an increasingly furious Emperor Zarkol. "They refuse to mass their forces where we can destroy them. They strike at our supply ships rather than engaging our warships directly. Find their homeworld." Zarkol demanded. "We will make an example of these savages." But Earth's location was being carefully protected. All human vessels wiped their navigation data before any mission. Captured ships self-destructed before Xorians could extract their databases. As the 4th week of conflict began, Admiral Jack Frost issued a transmission on all frequencies, knowing the Xorians would intercept it. "This is Admiral Jack Frost of the Earth Defense Fleet to the Xorian Empire. You came to our system demanding surrender. You threatened our extinction. Now you have seen but a fraction of humanity's resolve. We are not like the other species you have conquered. War is in our blood. Retreat now, or face the full fury of humanity unleashed. This is your final warning." The message was broadcast alongside a demonstration, the simultaneous destruction of 20 Xorian supply depots across the outer solar system, coordinated to explode at the exact moment Jack's message concluded. Emperor Zarkol watched the transmission in stunned silence. Then, his rage building, he gave the order that would change the course of the war. "Prepare the planet killer. We will end this human resistance once and for all." The massive Xorian flagship, Eternal Dominance, emerged from hyperspace near Earth's moon, flanked by the remnants of the once mighty invasion fleet. Emperor Zarkol himself had arrived to oversee the final assault. His planet-killer weapon, a gravitational disruptor capable of tearing a world apart, was primed and ready. "Begin the attack on their lunar base," Zarkol commanded. "Once it falls, we will demonstrate our power by destroying their moon before their eyes. Then they will surrender or perish." The lunar base, humanity's most visible military installation, erupted in explosions as Xorian warships bombarded its surface. What the Xorians didn't know was that the base was mostly empty, a deliberate target designed to draw in the enemy fleet. Lieutenant Frank Rivera and his small squad of defenders held their position in the base's command center. Their job was critical: maintain the appearance of a desperate defense, while Earth's true response mobilized. "Enemy troops have breached Level 3, Frank reported calmly over his secure channel to Earth Command, holding defensive positions as ordered. On the lunar surface, the Xorian ground forces poured out of landing craft, their advanced battle armor gleaming in the stark contrast of space. They moved in perfect formations, just as they had on hundreds of worlds before. Frank's squad employed guerrilla tactics that confused and frustrated the Xorian soldiers. Tripwires, improvised explosives, and false retreat patterns led the enemy into carefully prepared kill zones. A force of 30 humans managed to hold off over 300 Xorian troops far longer than should have been possible. Meanwhile, Earth's true defense was unfolding. Admiral Jack Frost had gathered every combat-ready vessel humanity possessed for Operation Hammerfall, the counterattack they had been preparing for weeks. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Captain Lisa Martinez confirmed from her position at Tactical. Jack nodded grimly. "Deploy the nanite swarms." This was Dr. Samantha Wilson's masterpiece, microscopic robots designed to infiltrate Xorian ships through their propulsion exhaust systems. Once inside, the nanites would dismantle the ships from within, converting vital components into more nanites. As the invisible swarms approached the Xorian fleet, Jack gave the command, "All vessels, execute Hammerfall." Now, from behind Earth's moon, from the shadow of Mars, and from hiding places throughout the asteroid belt, hundreds of human ships appeared simultaneously. They didn't move in formation but attacked in a chaotic, unpredictable swarm that overwhelmed Xorian tracking systems. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Emperor Zarkol watched in disbelief as his fleet's ships began failing from within. Warning lights flashed across command consoles as vital systems shut down. At the same time, the human fleet closed in from all directions, focusing their fire on ships already compromised by the nanite swarms. "Impossible," Zarkol raged. "How can primitives possess such technology?" The answer was simple. Humans had been preparing for this moment since the first Xorian ultimatum. While the Xorians had fought according to the same tactics they used for millennia, humans had developed weapons specifically designed to counter Xorian technology. As his fleet crumbled around him, Zarkol ordered the planet killer to target Earth. "If we cannot have this world, no one will." But before the weapon could charge, Admiral Jack Frost's flagship broke through the Xorian defense screen. Instead of firing on the Emperor's vessel, the human ship locked onto it with magnetic grapples. Boarding parties away, Jack announced, strapping on his combat armor. I'm leading this one myself. Earth's special forces, led by Admiral Frost, cut their way into the Xorian flagship. The Emperor's guards fought bravely, but were unprepared for human combat tactics. The close-quarters brutality, the willingness to sustain casualties to achieve objectives, the sheer ferocity of humans fighting for their homeworld. Jack fought his way to the bridge, where Emperor Zarkul stood in shock as humans breached his inner sanctum. Impossible, the Emperor whispered as Jack approached. No species has ever. You were warned, Jack said simply, his weapon trained on the Emperor. Surrender your fleet and your weapon now. With their Emperor captured and their flagship under human control, the remaining Xorian vessels ceased fire. The battle for Earth was over. As Jack looked out at the blue planet shining against the blackness of space, he knew the war was just beginning. Humanity wouldn't stop at defense. The Xorian Empire had threatened Earth's existence. Now humans would take the fight to them. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the war had changed dramatically. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were taking the fight directly to the Xorian Empire. Admiral Jack Frost stood on the bridge of Earth's new flagship, Defiance, watching as a fleet of human warships prepared to jump to hyperspace. The vessels represented every nation on Earth, now united by a common purpose. All ships report ready for Operation Liberation, Captain Lisa Martinez announced. Jump coordinates locked on the Centauri system. Jack nodded. Begin the assault. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. The human fleet disappeared into hyperspace, emerging hours later near a heavily populated Xorian colony world. But unlike the Xorians, humanity didn't immediately begin planetary bombardment. Instead, they deployed their secret weapon, information. Captain Olivia Taylor led the diplomatic mission, broadcasting on all frequencies in dozens of alien languages. People of the Xorian Empire, we are not your enemies. We come to offer freedom from imperial rule. The Emperor who claimed to be invincible has been defeated. Join us, and together we can build a galaxy where no species dominates another. On the planet below, the subject races who had lived under Xorian control for generations heard the message. The Xorians had always told them that resistance was impossible, that their rule was absolute. Now, proof of their defeat was orbiting overhead. Within days, rebellions erupted across the colony. The local Xorian military, cut off from the main Imperial fleet, found themselves fighting on multiple fronts. When they called for reinforcements, none came. Earth forces had established blockades at key hyperspace junctions. This pattern repeated across a dozen star systems. Captain Olivia Taylor moved from world to world, offering alliance instead of conquest. Species that had been enslaved for generations provided invaluable intelligence about Xorian defenses and supply routes. The Praxi can guide us through the nebula defenses, Olivia reported to Admiral Frost. And the Voltar have agreed to retrofit their mining ships as supply vessels for our fleet. Jack had expected a long, grinding war of attrition. Instead, the Xorian Empire was collapsing from within. Centuries of oppression had created a powder keg that needed only the spark of hope that humanity provided. Colonel Ryan Edwards led the push toward the Xorian core worlds. His intelligence team had been analyzing data provided by the liberated species. Admiral, we found something, Ryan reported, transmitting sensor data to the Defiance. The Xorian homeworld's defense grid has a fundamental flaw. It was designed to repel attacks from outside their territory, not from within. Jack studied the information carefully. They never imagined an enemy could penetrate this far into their empire. Exactly. If we approach from the sickness corridor using the jump coordinates the Praxi provided, we can bypass 90% of their defenses. The plan was set in motion. While smaller human fleets continued liberating outer colonies, the main Earth force prepared for a direct assault on the Xorian homeworld. Xoria Prime. The Xorian High Council, which had taken control after Emperor Zarkol's capture, was in disarray. Reports of rebellions came in hourly. Their once mighty military was stretched thin trying to maintain control of their vast territory. "This is impossible," declared High Counselor Vex. "How can humans undo in months what we spent millennia building?" The answer came sooner than expected. Earth's coalition fleet, now including ships from a dozen formerly subjugated species, appeared in orbit around Xoria Prime. Their weapons were trained not on civilian centers, but on military installations and government buildings. Jack's message to the Xorian High Council was brief. "Your empire is lost. Your subject worlds have declared independence. Your emperor is our prisoner. Surrender now, or face the combined might of everyone you've ever oppressed." For the first time in their 10,000-year history, the Xorians faced total defeat. With their defenses compromised and rebellions raging across their territory, the High Council had no choice. "We request terms of surrender." The message finally came. Jack looked at the blue-green planet below, home to the species that had so arrogantly threatened Earth's existence. "Prepare my shuttle," he ordered. "It's time to negotiate a new galactic order." The Grand Hall of Harmony on Xoria Prime had been designed to intimidate visitors with its towering crystal spires and massive statues of Xorian conquerors. Today, it served as the setting for the most significant peace conference in galactic history. Admiral Jack Frost walked slowly down the central aisle, flanked by representatives from 24 species. Many had been subjects of the Xorian Empire until just months ago. Now they walked as equals, heads held high for the first time in generations. At the far end of the hall sat the Xorian High Council, their once proud postures now subdued. Behind them, a massive window revealed the orbiting Earth fleet alongside vessels from the newly formed Galactic Federation. "This council is now in session," announced the neutral mediator, a member of the ancient Trill species who had managed to maintain independence from Xorian rule through isolation. Jack stepped forward. "6 months ago, the Xorian Empire came to Earth demanding our surrender or extinction. Today, we meet to establish lasting peace." The terms of the treaty were straightforward. The Xorian Empire would be dissolved. All conquered worlds would be granted independence and invited to join the new Galactic Federation as equal members. The Xorians themselves would retain control of their homeworld and closest colonies, but surrender their military capacity. High Counselor Vex, speaking for the Xorians, addressed the assembly. "For 10,000 years, our species has known only conquest and dominion. We believed it was our right to rule. We could not imagine defeat." He paused, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "The humans have taught us otherwise." The treaty signing took 3 Earth days, with representatives from every affected world adding their mark to the document. Earth, despite leading the liberation, accepted the same status as other founding members, 1 vote in the new Federation Council. Dr. Peter Howard, Earth's foremost sinoanthropologist, established the cultural exchange program that would form the foundation of the new interstellar community. "Understanding must replace fear," he explained as the program was unveiled. "Every species has something valuable to teach and to learn." On the final day of the conference, Jack requested a private meeting with the imprisoned Emperor Zarkol, who had been brought from Earth under heavy guard. The former Emperor's chambers were comfortable but secure. As Jack entered, Zarkol rose from his meditation pool, his once vibrant blue skin now pale and faded. "Admiral Frost," Zarkol acknowledged. "Have you come to gloat over your victory?" Jack shook his head. "I came to understand. Your empire stood for millennia. You conquered hundreds of worlds. Yet you attacked Earth with no provocation. Why?" Zarkol was silent for a long moment. "Throughout our history, we encountered no species that could truly challenge us. Conquest became routine. When our scouts discovered Earth, you seemed primitive by our standards. Your ships were few, your territory limited to a single star system. But I warned you, Jack said quietly. I told your ambassador what would happen if you forced us into war. Yes, Zarkul admitted. That was perhaps my greatest mistake. I dismissed your warning as the empty threats of a primitive. I could not imagine that a species so new to space travel could defeat the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. Jack moved to the window, looking out at the stars. Humans have been fighting each other since we first walked upright. War is written into our history. We've had to learn its cost again and again. A lesson we now understand as well, Zarkul said. What happens to me now? You'll stand trial before the Federation Council. All species you've harmed will have a voice in your judgment. Jack turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, most humans believe in redemption as strongly as we believe in justice. As Jack departed the chamber, his communication device chimed. The final vote had been tallied. The Galactic Federation Charter had been ratified unanimously. A new era of cooperation would replace millennia of Saurian dominance. Later that evening, at the celebration marking the Charter's adoption, representatives from dozens of worlds approached Jack to express their gratitude. But it was a young Saurian diplomat who offered the most poignant observation. Throughout our history, she said, we believed ourselves invincible because we had never encountered a force capable of stopping us. In humans, we found not just worthy opponents, but teachers. You showed us there is more strength in cooperation than in conquest. Jack raised his glass in a toast. To a lesson none of us will forget, and to a peace that will outlast us all. The stars shone brightly that night over Xoria Prime, illuminating the first chapter of a new galactic history.